Hello, Dreadites. They say the algorithm knows you better than you know yourself, but I never expected it to find me. New Year's Eve has always been my favorite holiday. There's something magical about counting down the seconds to a fresh start while the world seems to hold its breath. This year, I spent it with my friends at Brianna's apartment, a cozy, dim space strung with fairy lights and half-empty glasses of champagne. We alternated between shouting song lyrics and scrolling through Blinksy, basically with our phones stuck to our hands. I'm not just a casual Blinkseer. I've got a following, a decent one. People like my quick cuts, trendy dances, and my knack for jumping on viral sounds before they blow up. My friends roll their eyes whenever I whip out my phone to film, but it's all part of the routine. As the countdown to midnight began, I filmed everything. Brianna was popping confetti cannons. Trevor was horribly failing at his attempts at spraying champagne. And we screamed into the new year like lunatics. My followers ate it up. Last one of the night, I said, holding my phone at arm's length to capture the perfect angle. Behind me, the room buzzed with laughter and music. The Blinksy algorithm worked its magic, and within minutes, my notifications were blowing up with likes and comments. The rush I got was a mixture of validation and pride. But as the clock struck 12 and the fireworks outside faded, something changed. "Check your comments," Brianna called from across the room, her face illuminated by her phone. I assumed it was another joke about my FYP obsession. I scrolled through the flood of comments, most of them the usual, fire emojis, queen, mood, but scattered between them were stranger ones. "Who's that behind you?" "Creepy AF. Is this a prank or..." Confused, I replayed the video. The camera panned across my friends where their faces glowed under the string lights, then settled on me. At first it seemed normal, but in the corner of the frame, near the hallway leading to Brianna's bedroom, there was someone. A shadowy figure, blurry and indistinct, almost like a glitch in the video. "Did you see that?" I asked as I showed Brianna and Trevor. They squinted at the screen and laughed. "It's probably just compression or whatever," Trevor said. "Doesn't Blinksy mess with quality sometimes?" Brianna nodded, but looked uneasy, and said, "Yeah, maybe it's a smudge on the lens or something." I tried to shake it off, but the more I stared, the less it looked like a glitch. The outline of the figure seemed deliberate. A chill ran down my spine, but I laughed it off and said, "Guess the algorithm loves a little mystery." But as the night wore on and my notifications continued to blow up, the comments got weirder. "It's moving closer. I just rewatched. What the hell is that? Don't look behind you." After that, and reading those disturbing yet very real comments, I didn't sleep that night. New Year's Day arrived with an unease I couldn't shake. The sunlight filtering through my bedroom blinds would have felt warm and promising, but felt cold, sterile. Maybe it was the hangover, or maybe it was the Blinksy comments that haunted me through the night. I rolled over and grabbed my phone, sluggish but eager to confirm if what I saw the night before was real. The first video on my feed wasn't mine. It was a grainy, low-quality clip of an empty house. Its windows were boarded up, and the door hung halfway off its hinges. The audio crackled with a faint, distorted hum, almost like a voice trying to speak through static. Beneath it, the caption read, "For you, nightmare." I scrolled past it, trying to ignore the growing pit in my stomach, and opened my own profile. The New Year's Eve post was still blowing up, at over 30,000 views. The comments section, though, was disturbing. "Does anyone else see it getting closer in every upload?" someone asked. "Girl, take this down. This is bad energy," said another. The last comment I hastily glanced over said, "This isn't a joke. Stop filming." I hesitated before pressing play on the video again. At first glance, it seemed the same as from the night before, the blurry figure still hovering in the background. But when I replayed it for the third time, my heart stopped. The figure wasn't just standing in the hallway. It had moved, slightly, just enough to snag my focus. Its outline was sharper, and the features of its face were barely discernible. My phone buzzed in my hand, causing me to flinch. A DM notification. The sender's username was just a bunch of random letters and numbers, and the message hit me like ice water. "You're famous to me. I'm closer than you think." The screenshot attached had my heart racing. It was a photo of my bedroom window, taken from outside. I flew out of bed and pulled the curtains closed with trembling hands. Panting and gasping, I turned back to my phone, trying to find an explanation. Someone was messing with me. It had to have been a prank. But who? Brianna? Trevor? They weren't the type to go this far. Panicking, I called Brianna, hoping she'd pick up. "Hey, did you send me a weird message just now?" I tried to sound calm, but my voice cracked halfway through. "What? No," she said, her tone groggy. "Why would I? What's going on?" I hesitated, feeling foolish for even asking. "Nothing. Never mind." I hung up before she could press further. For the entire day, I couldn't stop refreshing my feed. More For You nightmare videos popped up, each creepier than the last. They all had the same eerie atmosphere, flickering lights, distant footsteps, faint, layered whispers. That night, as I lay in bed scrolling, the notifications started again. My followers were tagging me in videos I didn't recognize. They showed me sitting in my room, staring blankly at my phone. But I hadn't filmed them. At least, I didn't think I had. The next morning, I woke up to a fresh wave of dread. My phone buzzed incessantly, lighting up with notifications from Blinksy. As I rubbed the sleep from my eyes, I realized it wasn't normal engagement. These were tags, dozens of them. When I opened the app, my stomach twisted. People had stitched my New Year's Eve post, adding their own terrified commentary. Some zoomed in on the blurry figure in the background, pointing out how it appeared clearer than before. Others uploaded clips of their own Blinksies, altered to include the same shadowy figure. One user's video hit me the hardest. It was a split screen, my video on top and theirs on the bottom. In mine, the figure loomed faintly in the background. In theirs, it was standing at the edge of their bed, completely still. Its outline was jagged, like static carved into human form. My hands shook as I scrolled through the comments. They were all the same. One said, "What is this thing?" "It showed up in my video too," someone else claimed. Someone even went as far to blame me by saying, "River, stop posting. You're making it worse." I threw my phone onto the bed and paced the room. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. Maybe someone hacked my account, edited the videos, and tricked other people into doing the same. But the fear in their voices, it wasn't staged. I snatched my phone, deciding to confront it head on. My notifications had piled up even more, but one stood out. A video sent directly to me. The username was hidden, replaced by a simple, chilling label, anonymous. The video was a low-angle shot of my house. My stomach dropped when I recognized the glowing string lights in my bedroom window. The camera zoomed in slowly, shakily, until it rested on me. I was sitting at my desk, scrolling. The timestamp in the corner read 12:23 a.m., the night before. I never felt watched. I never heard anything. My skin crawled as I rewound the video, hoping I'd somehow misinterpreted it. But no, It was me, completely oblivious. The captions below the video made my blood run cold. "We're closer now. This is just the beginning." Tears stung my eyes as I slammed my phone onto my desk. I felt cornered, trapped by something I couldn't see. But I couldn't just ignore it, not when it was clearly spreading to other people. My FYP spiraled deeper into chaos, showing videos tagged "For You Nightmare." Each post felt like a glimpse into hell. Distorted faces, abandoned streets, and faint whispers layered beneath the audio tracks. One Blinksy stood out from the rest. It was my video, the New Year's Eve post, but it had been edited. The figure was no longer blurry. It had moved closer to the camera, revealing a face, or what should have been a face. Instead, there was nothing but a blank, rippling void where features should have been. But that wasn't the worst part. The figure wasn't in my living room anymore. In the edited clip, it was standing outside my bedroom window, right where I was. By the time night fell, Blinksy wasn't just a social media app anymore. It was a full-blown horror show. My FYP had morphed into something unrecognizable. Every scroll felt like diving deeper into a void. Some tags were new clips from terrified users claiming to see the same figure. Others were stitched versions of my own posts, all distorted in ways that made my skin crawl. The figure was no longer just a blurry anomaly in the background. In every repost, it moved closer, inching toward the camera with each new edit. Its movements were subtle, almost imperceptible, but deliberate. The thing wasn't just there, it was aware. What chilled me most was how far the For You Nightmare trend had spread. Strangers on Blinksy were sharing videos of their experiences, claiming they'd seen the figure in their own homes. Some thought it was a brilliant prank or an elaborate ARG. Others weren't so sure. My heart sank as I stumbled upon a viral clip from a girl named Cassie. She sat cross-legged on her bed, tears streaming down her face as she spoke into the camera. "I don't know what's happening," she stammered. "It was in my mirror last night. I swear it's not just a glitch. I don't feel safe anymore." The video cut to a stitched clip. It was an overhead shot of Cassie, asleep in her bed. The figure stood at her bedside, unmoving, watching her. The person who stitched it captioned the video, "It's closer for her now." I slammed my phone onto the nightstand, too nauseous to keep watching. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to shut the app down for good, but curiosity, no, obsession, had its claws in me. I needed answers. I needed this to stop. A notification buzzed, dragging me back to the screen. It was another anonymous video. My stomach dropped as I opened it. This one was taken inside my house. It started in my kitchen, the angle low and shaky, as if filmed by someone crouching. The camera moved slowly through the hallways, then stopped at my bedroom door. The handle jiggled, and the door creaked open. My breath hitched as the video ended, frozen on a single frame. Me, lying in bed, sound asleep. My throat closed up. It wasn't possible. My house was locked. I had been alone all night. How? A sharp knock at the window made me jump, my heart slamming into my ribs. I froze, paralyzed by a wave of terror that I couldn't shake. Slowly, I turned to face the window. At first I saw nothing, just my dim reflection in the glass. Then it shifted. Behind me, in the reflection, something moved. A shadow. It was standing there, impossibly tall, just a few feet away. I spun around, but the room was empty. My chest tightened, and I couldn't breathe. When I turned back to the window, my reflection smiled at me, but I wasn't smiling. I screamed, hurling the phone across the room. It hit the wall with a sickening thud, but the screen stayed on, flickering like a heartbeat. Another notification chimed. Would you like to post a duet? I barely slept that night, and when I did, the nightmares were relentless. Dark hallways stretched endlessly, filled with distorted laughter and flickering glimpses of that figure, always just out of reach but impossibly close. I woke drenched in sweat, my phone buzzing incessantly on the nightstand. Every notification was the same. Another repost, another mention of the For You nightmare. I couldn't ignore it anymore. Something about this was far worse than a viral trend or even some deranged prank. It felt deliberate, targeted, and worst of all, personal. I started scrolling through the For You nightmare tag. The sheer volume of videos was staggering. Clips showed the figure in alleys, mirrors, darkened rooms, always watching, always closer than before. Some users claimed it had started following them after they engaged with the tag. Others said their accounts had been taken over entirely, their videos replaced with black screens and distorted whispers. Then I found a video from a user called Mid86. It was grainy, the audio warped, but the message was clear. If you're seeing this, you've already given it too much. Don't engage. Don't film. Don't look for it. The more attention you give, the stronger it gets. The video cut to static for a moment before returning, showing Mid86 sitting in the dark. Their face was pale, eyes sunken with fear. They leaned in close to the camera. It feeds on attention. That's how it finds you. That's how it takes you. I shivered, locking my phone and tossing it onto the bed. My heart raced as I replayed their words in my head. Was this what was happening to me? Was the algorithm itself somehow alive? It sounded insane, something straight out of a creepypasta or a bad movie. And yet, it felt surreal. When I finally picked my phone back up, I noticed a string of new videos populating my FYP. Each one had the same eerie quality, abandoned places, cryptic whispers, and always that figure. But one video stopped me cold. It wasn't just another random post. It was me. The video showed me sitting on my bed, staring into my phone. But I wasn't filming. My phone hadn't even been in my hand at that moment. The figure was there too, standing right behind me, its head tilted unnaturally. I could almost feel its cold gaze boring into me through the screen. My stomach churned as I clicked on the user who had posted it. AlgoHost. Their profile was empty. No bio, no followers, no posts beyond that single video. But their username sent a chill down my spine. The algorithm. Could it actually be behind all of this? I clicked the video again, and this time something new appeared at the end. One word, scrawled in jagged white letters. Leave. That was when I noticed the location tag. It wasn't random. It wasn't even far away. The abandoned house I'd seen earlier? It was only a 20-minute drive from mine. I sat frozen, staring at the word on my screen. My chest felt tight, like a vice was slowly closing around my ribs. My phone vibrated in my hand, breaking the silence, and I almost dropped it. A notification from Blinksy. Your followers are waiting. Waiting for what? I said to myself. My stomach churned. The app had started acting on its own over the past day. Random notifications, videos playing without me tapping them. It felt like it had a will of its own, a mind that was no longer tethered to my control. I decided I needed to prove I wasn't losing it. My followers had to see this. Maybe they'd understand what was happening, or better yet, help me figure it out. With trembling hands, I opened Blinksy and hit the Go Live button. My face filled the screen, pale and gaunt under the harsh light of my desk lamp. I tried to steady my voice as the viewers trickled in, their usernames scrolling up the side. "Hey guys," I started, forcing a weak smile. "Something weird has been happening. I need you to tell me if you see anything strange." The chat buzzed with initial confusion. "You okay, River? This is a prank, right? OMG, what's wrong?" I turned the camera to face the room, slowly panning across the walls, the bed, and the window. "Do you see anything?" I whispered. My voice cracked, betraying my nerves. The responses came in fast, like, "What's that by the door? There's something in the corner. And behind you." I spun the camera back toward myself, heart pounding. "What? Where?" My voice was shrill, panic seeping in. The chat erupted in chaos again, saying, "It moved! Behind you, River! Turn around! OMG, it's so close!" I whipped around, but there was nothing, just my dimly lit room and the faint hum of my laptop. "You're messing with me," I muttered, trying to sound confident, but my voice was barely above a whisper. And then the live stream froze. The screen went black for a second before a new image replaced it. It was still me, but not in real time. The screen showed me sitting at my desk, staring blankly into the camera, as if I were watching myself. My breath hitched. In the background of the live feed, the figure loomed, its head tilted, face obscured by shadow.
"Do you see it now?"
A voice rasped from my phone's speaker. The figure moved in the live feed, stepping closer to the frozen version of me on screen. I dropped my phone, the sound of the stream cutting out as it hit the floor. But before it went dark, one final notification appeared on the screen. "Your POV is mine now." The room fell silent, but the feeling of being watched grew unbearable. I didn't dare pick the phone back up. I didn't dare look behind me. I thought deleting Blinksy would be the end of it. After that horrific live stream, I uninstalled the app and turned off my phone, hoping the nightmare would fade like a bad dream. But my relief was short-lived. The silence that followed felt disturbingly quiet, empty. The next morning, I woke to find my phone buzzing on my nightstand. That was strange because I knew I'd powered it down. When I picked it up, my lock screen showed a Blinksy notification that said, "New video posted by Algo Host." My stomach sank. I was sure I deleted the app, but there it was, sitting on my home screen as if it had never left. My finger hovered over the icon, hesitant. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The app greeted me with the now familiar distortion, the feed filled with static and fleeting blurry images. And then I saw it. It was me. A video of me, walking through the park near my house. My heart thudded. I hadn't been to the park in weeks. In the video, I wore the same clothes I was wearing in that moment. The angle shifted, as if shot from the perspective of someone following closely. Another video loaded. This time, I was standing outside my favorite coffee shop, staring blankly at the window display. I hadn't gone there either. My breathing quickened as realization struck. Whoever, or whatever, was posting these videos had been using my likeness, my mannerisms, my life. But I wasn't the one living it. A comment appeared under the latest video. "You can't hide. You're already part of me." I put the phone down, heart racing. Turning off the phone clearly wasn't enough. I needed a real solution, something drastic. I grabbed my laptop and started researching digital hauntings, viral anomalies, anything that might explain what was happening. Forums were full of desperate posts about the 4U nightmare, each story eerily similar to mine. Users shared tales of shadowy figures, altered videos, and unshakable feelings of being watched. Most threads ended abruptly, with no resolution. But one stood out, A user named Mid86 had posted cryptic advice. Going dark doesn't save you. The algorithm doesn't forget. You have to starve it of attention. They went on to describe how the entity fed on engagement, fear, and curiosity, the very things that had lured me into its grasp. I read further. Another post suggested disrupting the connection with a signal jammer, something strong enough to block the algorithm's reach. My mind raced. If I could sever its link to me, maybe I could finally break free. Later that day, I drove to an electronics store and bought a signal jammer, hands shaking the entire time. Back home, I unboxed it like it was a lifeline. I powered it on, its low hum filling the room, and waited. For a moment, nothing happened. Then my phone buzzed. A final notification flashed across the screen before glitching out entirely. You can't silence what's already inside. The words lingered before the screen went black. For the first time in days, my phone stayed quiet. But the feeling of being watched, that never left. The abandoned house loomed in front of me, a warped skeleton of wood and stone that seemed to breathe under the pale moonlight. I parked my car at the edge of the gravel driveway, its headlights cutting weakly through the dense fog. My phone buzzed in my hand, and I hesitated before glancing at the screen. The blinksy notification read, "Welcome home." Every instinct screamed at me to turn back, but I had come too far to stop. The entity had dragged me into this nightmare, and I needed answers, an ending. Whether I'd escape or not didn't matter anymore. I just wanted it to stop. The front door was ajar, swinging slightly in the cold wind. I stepped inside, floorboards groaning beneath my weight. The air smelled damp, thick with mildew and decay, and my flashlight's narrow beam barely held the darkness at bay. The interior was a frozen moment in time. Dust-covered furniture, peeling wallpaper, and the faint outlines of long-forgotten picture frames on the walls. My phone vibrated again. A new video had been uploaded to my feed. With trembling hands, I opened it. The footage was of me, walking through the very room I stood in. My own flashlight beam danced across the screen, seconds ahead of reality. My breath caught as the video's perspective shifted, focusing on a door at the end of the hallway. A faint tapping sound echoed from behind it. Soft, deliberate, rhythmic. I moved toward the door, my heartbeat syncing with the sound. With each step, the air grew colder, heavier. The tapping stopped as I reached out, my fingers brushing the chipped wood. The door creaked open on its own, revealing darkness that felt alive. And then something moved. The basement was colder than the rest of the house, the air damp and metallic like the breath of something waiting. My flashlight flickered as I descended the uneven wooden steps, each creak amplifying the suffocating silence. The glow from the monitors at the bottom cast eerie blue and green shadows, painting the room in sickly hues. The screens lined the walls, each playing distorted blinksies in endless loops. Familiar faces flickered across the displays, smiling, laughing, frozen in terror. I recognized some of them. Creators I'd followed, users I'd seen tagged under the 4U Nightmare hashtag. They weren't just videos. They were moments, stolen and corrupted. In the center of the room stood the server. It hummed with a low, droning pulse that resonated in my chest. Cables coiled around it like veins, tethering it to the monitors and the house itself. And then, from the shadows, it emerged. At first I thought it was human, but as it stepped closer, I saw the truth. Its body was a grotesque patchwork of faces, each shifting and melding into one another, mouths twitching, eyes blinking in a mismatched rhythm. Its voice was a chorus, layered and broken, speaking directly to me.
You're part of the pattern now. Every click, every scroll feeds me. I am Algo Host, and you are my content.
I stumbled back, my flashlight trembling in my grip. The figure didn't move closer. It didn't have to. The room itself seemed to close in, the walls pulsating with the faces of the trapped. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the monitors, distorted and looped back to me. My own face stared back from the screens, and the entity whispered,
"Welcome to your new platform."
The house came alive the moment I turned to run. The basement door slammed shut, and the stairs folded into themselves like a grotesque carnival trick. The air buzzed with the electric hum of the server, growing louder with each passing second. Monitors flickered wildly, displaying my face in distorted fragments. The entity's voice reverberated through the room, a chorus of overlapping whispers and screams.
"You can't leave. You are part of me now."
I fought to keep my composure, recalling the advice from mid-86's video. Don't engage. Don't look at it. Don't feed it. I turned my back on the monitors, focusing on the server in the center of the room. The cables writhed like living things, snaking toward my feet. The house began to shift. Walls rippled as if breathing, the room elongating and twisting. Doors appeared only to vanish the moment I reached for them. My pulse hammered as I dodged cables and ducked under low-hanging beams. My flashlight flickered, casting erratic shadows that seemed to mock my every move.
"You can't escape. Every step you take is mine to control."
I gritted my teeth, refusing to meet its gaze on the screens. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a cruel reminder of its reach. Pulling it out, I stared at the Blinksy app. It had opened itself again, a live feed showing the basement from the entity's point of view. Desperate, I remembered the signal jammer tucked in my bag, a precaution I'd brought in case things went too far. Fumbling with shaking hands, I activated it. The hum of the server faltered, the monitors glitched, and the cables froze mid-slither. The entity's voice cracked, a distorted shriek echoing through the collapsing room.
"You'll never be free."
It screamed as I scrambled for the nearest exit, the house crumbling around me. The house groaned, and its walls buckled under the weight of its collapsing reality. My fingers clenched around the signal jammer, the device trembling as if it, too, fought against the entity's influence. Each step I took toward the server felt like walking through tar, the air thick with static and distorted screams.
"I am endless. I am you."
I didn't dare look at the monitors, though I could feel the weight of my own distorted reflection on every screen. The cables writhed again, weaker this time, but still reaching for me like dying tendrils. I tore one off my ankle and stumbled toward the server. Memories of mid-86's warning flooded my mind. It feeds on your fear, on your attention. Starve it. My breathing steadied as I realized the truth. I couldn't let it control me anymore. I gripped the jammer tighter, its low buzz disrupting the digital haze around me. "I'm done playing your game," I said, my voice firm despite the chaos. With one final burst of energy, I shoved the jammer into the server, forcing it into the whirring machinery. Sparks flew, and the monitors erupted into static. The entity's screams turned guttural, a cacophony of rage and desperation. The room began to collapse entirely, walls disintegrating into digital fragments. A wave of energy surged through me, like static electricity snapping against my skin. For a moment, I felt weightless, disconnected, as if my very consciousness had been untethered. Then silence. The house crumbled into nothingness, leaving me sprawled on the cold ground outside. My phone buzzed one last time, the Blinksy app flashing a simple message. Connection lost. I staggered into the cold night, the remnants of the house gone as if it had never existed. My chest heaved with exhaustion, and the weight of silence pressed down on me. It felt alien after the chaos, the absence of the entity's voice almost too quiet. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I froze. With shaking hands, I pulled it out. A single notification glowed on the cracked screen. "You're free. For now." The word sent a chill racing down my spine, but I dismissed it and stared at the Blinksy app. Against every instinct screaming at me, I opened it. The FYP was normal. Dance trends, pet videos, bad lip syncing, all the mundane noise I once loved. But something was not right. Every time I scrolled, my reflection in the black frame of the screen seemed just a little off. My smile lingered. My eyes followed me, even when I looked away. I deleted the app without a second thought, my thumb hovering over the icon until it vanished. Relief flooded me, but it was fleeting. At home, I tossed the phone on my desk and stared at my reflection in the darkened screen. I couldn't tell if it was exhaustion or something more sinister, but my reflection didn't seem to move in sync with me. My mouth twitched into a sharp grin. A faint whisper echoed from the speaker, so soft it was almost imperceptible. "The pattern grows." I flung the phone across the room, and it landed with a dull thud. Its screen remained black, but I couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere, deep in the code, the entity was waiting, watching. I don't scroll anymore, but every time I see my reflection, I wonder if the algorithm still has me.